That's okay. Just an exception now. So we said we talk about shallow data. So if I copy this hobbies, here I am just taking the hobbies from data, so pointing to the hobbies property and copying it over to the new object. So an array is a form of object, and it is also handled by reference to his memory allocation. So in this case, look what happens if I take data hobbies push foo, just to append a new element to the hobbies, and then I console log new data. Let's clear this out and run. You can see that in new data I can see the newly created value in my hobbies. That's because the array is a second level object, is a nested object basically, and this is copied by reference as well. So let's roll back 1 second and just try to fix this. So I want to make a shallow copy of data, but I want to copy also the hobbies for their values, not for their reference. So when I deal with data or new data, they will not have side effects one onto the other. So we learn that I can create new data by spreading .data into it. At this point, nothing prevents me to add exceptions to it or new properties. In this case, I want to redefine hobbies as new array in which I want to spread again data.hobbies. So in this case, in line 11 here, I am spreading the properties from data into the new data. And here we have the hobbies keyword with a reference to the original array. But then I'm going to override this keyword with a new array, like a new object that points to a new memory location. And in this array, I'm going to spread the values from the original data hobbies. Okay, so we can do this spreading and make a shallow copy recursively into an object structure. It doesn't matter the depth. And this concept is widely used in Redux reducers. So this piece of code is extremely relevant to Redux reducers. So let's run it again and see what happens to our new data. I can see that my new data now has an hobbies of 4, even if I'm pushing foo to the original hobbies. So I made a completely new object. Okay, that's cool. Now let's talk a bit how to extract, how to export informations from an object. Okay, we know that we can do, well, we can now take away this, we don't need it. So we know that we can console log data.name. But what if I want to avoid the syntax data.data.data. Well, I can export informations from an array. So I can write something like const data, name from data. So I'm going to create a new variable name, extracting its value from the keyword name in the object data. At this point, my console log can be just console log name. Let's try. Yeah, Marco, cool. And I can add a list of properties. So I want name and surname. Okay, so I can do console log name and console log surname. Let's run it. Okay, this is to export things. I can even say that I want to export, I want to export name, but I want to export it as person name. Okay, so during the export I can change the variable name that will be available to the global scope. Let's try this. So name now is available as person name to my script. This is very useful to avoid naming conflicts. Okay. Last thing. Okay. Does this extract affect the original object? Does this take away informations from data? No. Let's prove it. Console log data. So if I run this, I can see person name Marco Peroraro, and then all the original object. So this is compliant with immutability. It does not affect the original object, it just extracts informations from it. Okay, there are situations in which it's useful to extract some information from an object, but then I would like to refer to the others informations. So let's make an example. I extract name, okay, and I want to console log it, but then I would like to console log all the other informations. Here comes in handy the rest operator, which is very similar to the spread, so the syntax is the same. Their props, but this will just collect all the properties that has not been exported from data into this value other props. So then I can console log name, and then I can console log other props. Let's try this. Okay, you see, Marco is available as name, and then other props is an object which contains all the other properties but name. Cool. If I export even also age and run this again, well, the other props does not have age nor name. Okay, so this is just collecting whatever else properties I'm not explicitly exporting. Cool. And this is for objects. Then another piece of JavaScript 6 that we use a lot, and it has a little, maybe sometimes weird syntax, are the federal functions. Federal functions are a newly type of functions called also arrow functions that were introduced with JavaScript 2015, 2-3 years ago, more or less. So a normal function is like function foo console log foo. So this is a function. It has a name, it is identified by an operator, it has a possible list of parameters, and it has a body which is identified by curly brackets, and a function mostly does something at the end, returns a value like 1, 2, 3. Okay. So the equivalent in federal function is something like a list of argument, arrow function, a body to this function, in which I can write my function body. Okay, so a federal function in JavaScript is a value. So it is just equivalent to an object, or to 1, 2, 3, or to a string. That means that I can assign the value to a variable, something like federal foo equal. Okay, so this part here is just declaring a constant, and I am assigning this constant a reference to an object, to a function. So a function is also an object, so it's valid that you can copy it over to other properties, and just the reference is copied. Okay, cool. Some properties about this syntax. Let's say foo just returns a value, so the only job that foo does is to return. Well, you can completely skip the body part and just type the value that you want to return. So a federal function has an immediate return that you can define without implementing the body. Okay, that's a first interesting information. The other thing, let's say foo takes an argument arg1 and returns well, let's say value. So let's change the name, federal double it. So double it takes a value and returns value times 2. Okay, so it doubles the value. My federal equivalent can take a value and just return value times 2. Okay, so I have my arguments list, and I have my body implementation with an immediate return. So this function will return the result of this operation. Let's just try console log double it of 4 and federal double it of 4. Okay, this is just to test that they will perform the same, and they should, okay, yeah, dub it is not a valid function, double, and yeah, they both returns 8. Okay, so they are performing the same. So a caveat here: in a federal function, if you have one single argument, you can completely skip the round brackets around it. So most of the time you will see a syntax like this one, with this name equals something, arrow function something something. So going from right to left, we have the implementation of the function, so what the function does, which is a value which doubles the value and returns it, the argument, which is just a value. Of course, you can change this property, this variable, the way you want, and then this is just the name of the constant in which we reference the federal function. Okay, so nothing weird here. If we have something like multiply it, which we take value 1 and value 2 in order to return value 1 times value 2, so we just want to do a simple multiplication, so we have more than one argument. Let's implement multiply it in federal. Then we need the we need the round brackets around the arguments list. We still don't need it. We still don't need it for the implementation. Okay. The implementation is just straight. Let's try this out. So we give 4 and 2, 4 and 2. We run it. It should still be 8. Okay, yeah. Multiplication of 4 and 2 gives 8. Cool. Now, what if we wanted to... okay, so this is just for the basic differences. Now let me do this. I want const my federal function. I want something that returns an array A, B, C, and console log my federal function. That's just easy. It's a static function. It returns an array. I can return it like this. If it's a number 1, 2, 3, I can return it like this. Okay, same for string. And you might be guessing same for booleans. True, false value. Okay, so you can just return it. There is, of course, an exception. Is what if I want to return an object with name Marco in it? Here we have a conflict, because the curly brackets are used to define the body of the function. So here I'm returning undefined, because this is just not so valid syntax. Well, the caveat here is that I have to wrap the object as a value. So round brackets are also used in JavaScript to wrap a value. So I'm explicitly telling the interpreter that I want to return a value which is an object. So this is why sometimes you see this weird syntax. Let's clear this, run it again. Okay, here I have a federal function returning an object which is surrounded by round brackets. And that is, yeah, I think this is it for this video. Thank you.